Why do we age? This is Josh with the Infographic Show, and today we're going to answer that question. And it's not as simple as you might think. Shockingly, for something so universal, the reasons behind aging are still pretty mysterious. Scientists currently have more than 300 theories as to why we age. So let's start with the basics. What does aging actually mean? Besides giving you the urge to yell at kids on your front lawn, it changes almost everything about your mind and body. But the part of your body that ages the fastest might surprise you. As you go through your life, your genetic material, tissues, and cells get worn out. Damage accumulates over time, and the body's repair systems become less effective as stem cells are depleted. Meanwhile, other tissues replicate more slowly, increasing the chance of mutations. And the number one reason for aging is found in a specific part of the cell, the telomeres. These stretches of DNA sit at the ends of your chromosomes, protecting them from damage. Each time a cell divides, it loses 30 to 200 nucleotides from its telomeres. Over time, these protective caps shrink. Chromosomes become more vulnerable. Eventually, they get so short that cells can no longer divide. The result is more damaged, worn-out cells, which drives the aging process. There are two broad reasons why this happens. A quick look around you should tell you that not everyone ages in the same way or at the same rate, and the reason might not be what you expect. So clearly, at least part of aging is affected by what you do, what you're exposed to, and how you live your life. Those factors all fall under extrinsic aging and consist of almost everything your doctor tells you to avoid. Smoking, excessive alcohol, stress, bad, unbalanced diets full of junk food and processed food, too little or too much food, and exposure to the sun's UV rays. A University of California, San Francisco study found that people who had healthy habits like exercising, plant-based diets, and low stress saw around a 10% increase in telomere length. Even your location can affect aging. Air pollution exposes the body to harmful substances that accelerate cellular aging. Research from Scotland to Taiwan shows that people regularly exposed to pollutants, from industrial emissions to wildfire smoke, tend to have a biological age older than their chronological age. Western India has one of the worst air pollution problems on the planet. Not only do people feel like they're aging faster here, they also show signs of premature aging. But even if your air is clean, there's another hidden factor you might not know about. People who cook with coal or biomass burning fuels that emit pollutants face prematuring aging, mental decline, and even a 25 to 34% increased risk of neuropsychiatric disorders. But in many parts of the world, getting people to take these causes seriously is difficult. Why? Well, some resist changing their lifestyle or lobbying for environmental improvements because they believe aging is fixed. And in a way, they are partly right. And that's because another major factor in aging comes from within: intrinsic aging. This has to do with your cells aging over time, and many scientists believe the timeline for that has been determined from birth. Just one more thing you can blame your parents for. Many scientists believe there's an internal molecular clock. As we age and cells continue to divide, they gradually lose their ability to repair damage, replicate accurately, or divide at all. According to this, the body's clock ultimately determines how long your cells will last before they start throwing up red flags. But research suggests this clock might not be completely fixed, and some experiments show it could be slowed. At some point, experts noticed that living past 100 tended to run in families, so scientists assumed at least part of everyone's lifespan was determined by their genes. They ran a study which found that female siblings of centenarians, those who lived past 100, were 8 times more likely to reach 100 themselves compared to the general population. Male siblings had a 17-fold higher chance of becoming centenarians. So there has to be some genetic component to aging. A group of scientists initially estimated that lifespan heritability ranged from 10 to 25%, but after further research, biophysicist Ben Shenhar and his colleagues found out that human heritability is 55%, considerably higher than previous estimates. Other studies have reported correlations of 40 to 50%. But why would the body have this clock? Some scientists believe the answer lies in evolution and reproduction. Basically, evolution favors genes that help you pass your genes on to the next generation. After you've put children out into the world and raised them to the point where they can take care of themselves, evolution doesn't care as much about what happens to you. According to that theory, as men and women enter middle age and their ability to reproduce greatly diminishes or disappears altogether, their body stops taking as great a care of itself. Repairing cells or replicating them perfectly uses up a lot of energy and resources, and that can't go on forever. So after all that, what is the main reason we age, and could science one day stop it entirely? Contrary to what TikTok might have you believe, extending your lifespan isn't about taking 3,000 supplements that your favorite influencers just so happen to promote. It's something much simpler. And it's something you can do today. Experts have found that one way to promote longevity is following a calorie-restricted diet while still getting in all your essential nutrients. The National Institute of Health divided 200 healthy volunteers into two groups. One reduced their caloric intake by 12.5% for 2 years, the others maintained normal diets. Not only did the group that practiced calorie restriction lose 10% of their body fat, they also had a, quote, much slower pace of aging as measured by clinical blood biomarkers. Specifically, they slowed their aging by 2 to 3%. While that doesn't sound like much, it makes a big difference over time. And why does it do that? According to dietitian Beth Gervoni, a nutritious calorie-restricted diet seems to reduce inflammation, and that's a big part of aging. Inflammation is your body's response to injury, illness, or foreign substances. But when it's triggered too often by pollutants, carcinogens, or other stressors, immune cells begin to break down quicker. Dysfunctional immune cells struggle to remove dead or damaged cells, allowing them to build up. And over time, this disrupts the function of organs, tissues, and bodily systems. But let's say you don't consider a life without pizza worth living. Fair. There has to be some other ultra-tech or sciencey way to stop the clock, right? Well, some Frankenstein-inspired scientists are working to see what they can do about this whole mortality thing. They altered one gene in some animals, and to their surprise, increased their lifespan. The gene? PUF60. The animals? Worms. PUF60 plays a role in RNA splicing. Could that be the key to living over 100, 200, maybe even long enough to actually retire? The results in humans tell a very different story. Unfortunately, while mutating PUF60 did significantly extend the lifespan of worms, it hasn't done the same in humans. In fact, it's done the opposite. In people, PUF60 mutations cause issues with neural, mental, and physical development, while promoting tumor growth and worse outcomes for cancer. So scientists took a closer look at why PUF60 helped longevity in worms. It turns out, the most important effect of this mutation was defective production of proteins that affect the mTOR signaling pathway. And mTOR is located within a bigger complex, mTORC1. That serves as a kind of control center for cell metabolism. Researchers have found that inhibiting mTORC1 slows cell growth and, in turn, the aging process. While manipulating PUF60 has negative effects on humans, doctors are hopeful that targeting mTORC1 with specific drugs could not only slow aging but also help prevent cancer growth. Another scientific team decided that to target the causes of aging, they had to look at the organ that best predicts rapid aging. And the number one predictor for early death? The brain. As Dr. Wis Correa from the Knight Initiative for Brain Resilience says, the brain is the gatekeeper of longevity. Even though almost every bodily system is affected by aging, they're not all affected equally. In fact, a long-term health study in New Zealand, called the Dunedin study, found that different organs can age at different rates too, even in the same person. So if you're a smoker that works out a lot, you might have the brain and muscles of a 25-year-old at age 40, while your lungs and blood vessels have already checked into a retirement home. The brain is especially vulnerable because adult brains are mostly composed of non-dividing neurons that have to keep on working for your entire life. If you've ever worked in customer service, you might have noticed that some people's neurons don't work at all. But perhaps it's only because, since brain cells can't divide, they are more vulnerable to damage and a decline in function. Dr. Wis Correa and colleagues studied over 44,000 people aged 40 to 70, following them for 17 years. They found that participants with the most aged brains, the top 6 to 7%, had a 182% higher risk of dying over 15 years. Those with the youngest brains, on the other hand, had a 40% lower risk over the same period. But how can you measure a brain's age? In the study, scientists measured the age of 11 different organs, and the method they used sheds light on how and why we age. No, they didn't count the wrinkles. They counted proteins, about 3,000 of them to be exact. 15% of the proteins were associated with a single organ, while the rest came from multiple. Using an algorithm to file the proteins by organ, they came up with an organ-specific protein signature which pinpointed the different ages of internal organs. Because one of the number one hallmarks of aging is the loss of what's called proteostasis, basically the body's ability to fold, maintain, and degrade proteins within its cells. As our bodies age, the network responsible for protein quality control starts to nap on the job. At the extreme end, scientists believe that protein misfolding leads to diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Huntington's disease, and a whole host of other degenerative disorders. The one thing that they're not so sure about is the chicken and egg question of aging. Does aging cause those protein hiccups, or does the decline in proteostasis cause aging? Either way, if you care about your lifespan, you should pay more attention to your brain cells than your crow's feet. The heart and lungs are also surprisingly hardy. If you work out and avoid smoking and obesity, there's a good chance that they'll keep on chugging into your 90s, as long as nothing else fails. But some other systems will degrade as you get older no matter what you do. Like loss of bone density and muscle mass, for example. Between the ages of 30 and 60, bone density decreases. Between 30 and 75, half of your muscle mass will disappear, while your fat stores will double. Exercise can slow this down a lot, but it can't prevent it completely. Your vision will also get worse. There's a reason your parents kept asking you to read restaurant menus for them. In our 40s, the lens of your eye starts to stiffen, causing presbyopia, decreased ability to make out things near to you. But there is at least one promising aging treatment on the horizon, and it involves blood. Specifically young blood, as creepy as that sounds. Dr. Wiscore experimented with mice and found that when young mice's blood was introduced to old mice, it actually changed how genes were activated or expressed in the older mouse. It also increased plasticity in parts of the brain and improved learning and memory. So, the medical team working on aging is now eyeing the youngest blood possible, the kind that you get from umbilical cords at birth. Injecting mice with human blood from the umbilical cord had the same positive effects. So the theory is, it could work on humans too. But others believe the key to slowing down aging is already here. Many people just don't want to do it because it involves committing on a daily basis to a healthy lifestyle. In addition to healthy calorie restriction as you age, Luigi Ferrucci, the scientific director of the National Institute on Aging, says, "We don't need a magic pill for aging. The magic pill is already here," he adds. What is it? Don't smoke, stay at a healthy weight, get some good sleep, get your vaccines and cancer screenings, keep hypertension and high cholesterol under control. All of this increases your average lifespan by about 10 years. And what's the best thing you can realistically do to stop aging right now? Ferrucci has some solid advice there as well. Being physically active is the best gift you can give to yourself. Time to get off the couch and finally go for that jog. But before you do that, check out Scientists Discover a Cure to Reverse Human Aging, or click on this video instead.